everyone. I am Ravi Gupta. I am CEO and founder of Village Technomedia Private Limited, and we are an organization for last 17 years. We have been there, and we have been spreading the ideas on innovation, and we have been bringing out a magazine called e-health and a magazine on e-governance for last 16 years. And today, when the whole world is facing the COVID-19 situation, we are running a series of webinars to look at various aspects of the COVID-19 and how are the various states or various departments are dealing with the situation. And today we are honored to have Dr. Kajal. She is an IAS officer and in the Uttar Pradesh government, and she is director of urban local bodies in the government of UP. So I welcome Dr. Kajal on this chat with you on the webinar. We are joined in by a lot of people in this chat here, and also we are live on the Facebook where a lot of people are looking at us live on Facebook. So Dr. Kajal, as we start, before we go into the nitty-gritties, I will request you to talk about your background, schooling, higher education, and what inspired you to get into the IAS services.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi, and a very good morning to all of you. I'm Dr. Kajal, and I belong to Punjab, but I work in Uttar Pradesh, and I am basically a doctor, a clinical gynecologist by qualification. And I did my post-graduation from PGI Chandigarh and then wrote the civil services examination and joined the civil services in 2008. In between, I've also done my master's in global health sciences from University of California. And I have a lot of interest in health sector per se, given my background. And right now I'm working as director of the urban local bodies in with the government of Uttar Pradesh. And thank you so much for having me.
Great. Thank you. We would like to know that as the urban local bodies department in the government of Uttar Pradesh, you are the director there. So, how do you see the role of the urban local bodies in this situation, and how are the various urban local bodies in UP are dealing with this situation? What are their challenges and what are their opportunities in this situation?
Okay, so that's a lot, but I'll take it one by one. So yes, coronavirus has, as we all are aware, it's a pandemic which has been declared by WHO, and India is also dealing with it, and particularly with huge population like ours in Uttar Pradesh, we have a lot to deal with, and we as local bodies, which are the third tier of the government, we have a very, very crucial role to play. As we all know that sanitation is so important, and how we can protect the community by keeping it sanitized, keeping it clean, and also just not sanitation, but right now local bodies are also taking many initiatives. For example, Aligarh has started its telemedicine unit, and then Varanasi has and Agra has started their integrated command control systems, by which they are helping the district administration to localize the containment areas, and then also doing the surveillance through that system, so that you're able to do the contact tracing of the positive cases, and that is all there on the map, and it's easy. It becomes easy for them then to identify those people and then follow them up, and to be able to realize which is the area and where they have to focus upon. And other than that, also there's a biggest responsibility that has come to the local bodies, is in the form of helping the laborers, those who have been working as the daily wagers, because as you know, so much of our population, it's floating. It comes to our urban local bodies for work, and employment opportunities are better in the urban areas. So many people, you mostly migrate to urban areas, or they come on a local daily basis, get their work there. So right now, as their work has been, under the lockdown has been put into place, and they are unable to find job, and that's now come to their survival. So the biggest challenge, I would say, right now with the local bodies is to able to sustain them, to be able to feed them, with the help of not only with their own funds and their own this thing. They are also looking with the help of all those community NGOs and other people. The local bodies are working hard to provide them with daily food and other things, and also connect people with the essential services during this lockdown. For example, connecting them with the groceries, connecting them with the medicines and all. So there are so many things that local bodies are doing right now, and it's a huge challenge right now to make it sustainable and to help people in this crisis of hour. But at the same time, as you said, what is the opportunity right now? We see that since people are not coming out, there is no industry right now working, like most of them are closed, and there is not much waste is generated as it is being done in the other times. So at that is kind of an opportunity that we could reach out to those areas where it was really difficult to get into and clean the streets and get into those, cleaning the drains and other places where it was difficult, that on the daily basis it was a lot of waste generation. So that is a kind of opportunity in the way that we can now actually get into those areas and be able to make it more cleaner than the usual times. So yes, that's all we are doing.
uh, Urban areas are very dense areas, and COVID-19 has higher chances of spreading in the urban areas because of the higher level of density and higher level of contacts between the people. So, and in this situation of lockdown, they're also having the challenges of basic access to the services, which are basic services of the government, basic urban services, and basic stuff like essential commodities, in which so the lot of municipal authorities are right now diverting their attention on also on feeding people, feeding the poor there. So I think like they're highly stretched at this moment of their situation. So in this situation, are you seeing any examples of a good usage of IT to handle this crisis situation?
Yes, I would say most of our Nagar Nigams, the biggest municipal corporations, like we have 17, but the bigger ones are like 10, I would say. And like Agra model has recently been appreciated by Government of India, and they have really made use of the smart city component that they have with them, and they have been really been able to create that kind of platform where they could utilize it in a much better way. They are using it not only for managing social distancing, controlling the crowd, also surveillance. They are also using it for social distancing. They are using it for connecting it. They have one of the Varanasi as and Agra has also generated apps where people can go and they can connect to the essential commodity people, like with the people who are selling the medicines and other people have been listed there. People can go and use that technology. So I think there are many models, and it has been appreciated widely by Government of India recently, by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So I see, and these are mostly their own initiatives. As you know that these are the third tier of government. They are very independent in their own terms. So the directorate per se, we are kind of supporting. We are providing the supporting framework to them. They are using all these initiatives. I would like to give the credit to the people, those who are working at the field in the front line. They are taking a lot of initiatives, and it is their own brains and their own hard work. And in terms of clarifications or some policy changes, if they need some kind of support, we are having almost on a daily basis video conferencing with them, and they raise their issues, and if they need any clarifications or support, then we come into play, and we sort of play the role of a mediator between the local bodies and the government, and try to facilitate them as much as possible. So there are many models, I would say. Varanasi, Prayagraj, Agra, and many others. I may not and I can say that they are really in this hours of need. They have really shown the zeal and the enthusiasm, and they are really fighting it on daily basis. And it's really, really challenging, but at the same time very satisfying. And I'm getting very good feedback from the general public per se that the municipal corporations are doing really well.
Great. Dr. Kajal, you are yourself a doctor, an MBBS and an MD, and you also studied higher in this sector from abroad also. So your perspective on this crisis globally and in India, and where we are and where we are going, like how is this panning out? Your observation on this.
As a doctor, as a clinician, and as a public health professional, I feel that this is a pandemic already been declared by WHO. And as we all know, that even the biggest of the biggest, like, developed parts of the world, like Spain, Italy, China, and now America, everybody is like, having a lot of crisis at their own places. And but India has taken a very, very, it's a tough stand, and it's very really hard to do this. But doing this lockdown was a very difficult decision, I must say. But government has taken this stand, and it has really helped us to slow down the transmission in a way that we are able to utilize this time for preparing ourselves for testing, for do the contact tracing, doing the surveillance, and segregating and isolating the people, and then putting them into quarantine if need be. And then also preparing ourselves in terms of preparing for the infrastructure, like ventilators and other things that are needed, and preparing our doctors, and also bringing out some policies which will be helpful. It's said that there's no harm in being over prepared, but yes, I think we are doing that, and we should be doing that, because it's a novel virus. Everybody knows there's nothing much known about it. Nobody knows how it's gonna react during summers or with the humidity and other things, although there are some sort of trials, and there are researches going on across the world, but still there's very little known about this virus so far. So we all are kind of in the same boat, trying to assess the way the virus is reacting. But at the same time, I must say that putting India under lockdown has given us the time, and the kind of I would say that we can really utilize the time and put this time for testing and preparing ourselves preparing for if there is anything that we can be expecting that can go wrong. So we should be prepared for that.
Look at the numbers in Europe and US, and compared to that, India has much lesser number of infected and also the death rate. So there are many news items like Indians have much more immunity, our BCG vaccines are working, and our temperature climate is working. Your observation as a doctor on this?
Yeah, I know there are so many things being said, like the BCG vaccine is providing us immunity, or maybe the summers will kill the virus, and all that stuff is going on. And as I said already, it's a novel virus. Actually, there is not much known about it, and we really don't know that how it will be. So, it's like that. I think we just can't comment on that, because there is no concrete research so far where we can be establishing, like how it is going to be. So people are doing researches, and I'm sure, with time we'll get more of the literature available around that. And I think we should also try to publish as much as we can from our experiences, so that the other people can also learn. Like, we are looking at the different parts of the world where it has already created so much havoc. So they are publishing now, the researchers are coming from different parts of the world, and we are reading onto it and trying to assess like what would be the impact on India. Similarly, I'm seeing that we should also try to see and share our learnings with the other parts of the world, so that they can also understand what we learned from this this lockdown and other parts, and other kind of decisions that we are taking. But as I said, there's nothing per se which I can comment, because there's no concrete evidence so far to say that we are more immune, or maybe it's gonna be the I mean, I can only say the transmission might get slowed down during summers, but that's all I think I can say, but I am not very sure about that.
Right. And a lot of discussions are happening around testing. Your observations on global experiences in testing, and how can India learn from it?
Well, definitely testing is the key, because this virus is going from, we are like from one human to another human, and we are what we have to do is basically that we have to break this chain by isolating the person, that you do the surveillance. That is what we are doing, like contact tracing and testing them, and be fast, because the infectivity, as they say, it's almost like 2.5. One person is going to infect like around 2 to 3 people. So that's something like we have to do, and testing is the only way by which you can really understand, because as really recently Ministry of Health has said that most of the cases are asymptomatic. You don't even know, there's no symptoms, there's not even cough or any sore throat or anything happening to the people. And it is also our observation in Uttar Pradesh as well. Majority of the people are asymptomatic. You don't see any symptoms, but when you test them, they come out to be positive. So the only way to get to know is then only to test, right? So that is the only way. And so far RT-PCR is the only test which is the diagnostic test. And that is only that is where you can test the person and get to know that this person is positive. And then for 14 days, which is the incubation period, and you put the person in the quarantine, and then if that person is kept separated from the other people, so then that period is over, that person is immune, and it doesn't go to the another person. So testing, I think, has to be emphasized really. And I think UP has done really well in the past few days. They have really ramped up their testing in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks. And they are now also, I mean, I must appreciate the efforts of medical education department here, because they have really scaled up their public sector labs capacity. And they are also looking for other ways, like they have also introduced the cartridges. For example, for TB you were using the CBNAT machines, and now they have brought the cartridges, and now they are also testing for this virus in their in those labs, where in 7 of these labs. And I mean, they have really done a good job by scaling up. And I know that people are working round the clock in these hospitals to test. And the lab people are really working hard on those lines. And but I think given the population size, we still need to do more. And maybe with the engagement of private sector, as we are doing, I think they are going on those lines. And the private sector has recently been engaged after the Honorable Supreme Court guidelines have come up. And it has been said that those who can afford and those who are willing to pay should be tested. So as per the ICMR guidelines, given those criteria in which the people, if they are eligible to be tested, the government of Uttar Pradesh has already issued their guidelines that the people can be tested. So that is one way. But there are other categories where people are not affording that. And for that, government is also working out, for the guidelines, like how for them, how the budget can be arranged, and they can be, and their testing can be done. So we are right now focusing on this contact tracing surveillance of the different high risk categories, like migrant workers and other people, and also SARI, that is the symptomatic people. And I think the testing is the key. Definitely there are so much that needs to be done, and I think one of the important component would be engaging these private sector labs would be really helpful for us, given the size of our population.
As you mentioned about the Supreme Court guidelines about involving the private sector hospitals in testing, I think all over the country, a lot of discussions have happened about the healthcare infrastructure in the country. And as we talk about UP, the population is last, one of the perhaps the 5th largest population in the world. The lot of discussions are happening around our advocacy, are there enough hospitals, are there enough doctors, are there enough nurses, are there enough paramedical staff, are there enough labs in the country or in the state? So are you seeing that post COVID, there will be an increased focus by various states on and the central governments on scaling up the healthcare infrastructure both in the government and the private sector?
I mean, definitely, it's not because of coronavirus. I think in general, there it has been, the focus, and we are doing our best to scale up the infrastructure, strengthen our health systems, and put evidence-based policies into place. That has been going on, and I think definitely coronavirus has given us a kind of that reflection, that that pause and think, and that really we need to strengthen our health systems to be able to prepare for the disaster management, like in such times. Like if you have seen that Kerala is very much appreciated these days, right? And Kerala has been exposed because of the big population that they have of expatriates. They have already dealt with Zika virus, Nipah virus, and all those viruses. So they were quick, like in responding, like if you compare it with other parts of the country. And Kerala model has really been appreciated. So I think it only comes with the experience. For example, once this is unprecedented. This kind of thing nobody had ever imagined in their life, that that such thing can happen, that the trains will stop, the planes will stop, there will be no movement, and the whole, this is a new normal. I would say that we have now realized that something of this sort is so much unexpected and unprecedented. But those countries who have dealt with these kind of things are like the states. They are really a little bit, I would say, ahead of the other parts of the world or the other parts of the country, because they have the experience. So definitely when you are you're given this kind of a shock or this kind of exposure, you are better prepared next time. So I mean, definitely post COVID, I see that we will be better prepared. We will be much more alert, much more careful, and also focusing much more on the system. And we will definitely, everybody learns from the mistakes and everything happens. And I think it's a good thing that we are tackling. I mean, I must appreciate the efforts that everybody is giving right now. But as we all know, that nothing is like perfect. We all give our best, but if we have scope to improve, definitely we will have. And therefore we should be learning from those things and keep on learning, evolving ourselves, and be able to, I mean, I hope there's no more disasters coming to India in the future, but even if they do, we will definitely be much more better prepared to handle them, for sure.
Each urban local body has a health department also, public
Mm-hmm.
health department, and they have been like there for ages. But in this situation, perhaps their role and their importance would have really got increased. So, are you seeing that in the future, whenever the policies are prepared, budgets are prepared, and stuff like that happens, the strengthening of the health department in each urban local body, the municipal hospitals, or the public health center in the municipal areas, those areas would get a larger focus because of this situation, telling us that we have to now focus on health as much we can. Do you see such a situation?
So basically, see, it's very different across different parts of our country. If you see, for example, in Gujarat, the municipal corporation they run the hospitals. Okay, the hospital is under them. But in UP, you don't see them. Although it comes under the list of essential duties, health, education is a part of
Okay.
it. But as we have evolved, we have our different departments. So for example, health department is in place, we have education department in place, secondary education, primary education. So most of these essential duties which were mentioned in the act, of the Urban Local Bodies Act that we have in place right now, I see that not exactly, I mean, we are not in the, I would not say that it's our primary duty these days. Like although it's mentioned, I mean, it's not, it's given in our act that urban local body will be responsible for education and health in their jurisdiction.
Hmm.
But like in Gujarat, you have the hospitals being run by the local bodies. You don't see that in UP. So there's a lot of variation across the country. For UP, I can say that since we have our own departments put into place, we have a full team of right from principal secretary to the director, DG Health, DG Family Welfare, to the CMOs and all the people. They have their own line departments. And similar in education, you have principal secretary to the DG Education, and you have their basic shiksha adhikaris and other people in the field. So I see now the primary focus of those departments, like these are the essential duties of the local bodies, but they have been taken over by the other departments. So I think I cannot generalize it for the country, but yes, for UP, I do not see it as a primary focus in the local bodies, although we do support them. For example, the funds can be utilized for upgrading the infrastructure of the school, or maybe infrastructure of the local health facility if they want. I mean, they can always utilize the funds of the local bodies, but there's not a lot of bandwidth given the kind of work that we are doing. I mean, there's I don't see a lot of bandwidth of like putting our fund into that much in a very big way, although we can support it. But our primary focus is right now on the sanitation. As you know, solid waste management rules have come into place since 2016. Environmental, I mean, all these things are now, the people are aware, the things are, we all are getting concerned about our pollution, environmental deterioration and all that stuff. So I see that now in UP particularly, we are focusing more on the sanitation part. There's a lot of different type of works that needed to be done. We really need to, evolve ourselves in that ways that we are able to deal with the plastic, we are able to deal with the electronic waste in the times. And so I just feel that although that's definitely a part of our duty, but we can support the government, support the line departments in a way, but primarily we can focus upon the sanitation part, which is much needed and much more, right now needs our focus at this time.
And one question about how does the Department of Health in the government of UP and the Ministry of Health in the center are coordinating with the urban local bodies in your state for issuing guidelines, issuing protocols, and other issues which the urban bodies have to deal with in this corona situation.
So, I mean, see, we have different line departments. For example, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare usually issues the guidelines that come to the Department of Health and Family Welfare. Our Ministry of Health and Urban Development, like MAHUA, the Ministry of Health and Urban Affairs, that the guidelines come to us. But in general, since, at the district level, you have a district magistrate. So all the and at the state level we have the office of the chief secretary. So all those things are being compiled and looked holistically, and then this the protocols and the guidelines are given to the district, to the field functionaries. And then at the district magistrate level, I see it as a point which is very, very crucial and very, very critical for the I would see the whole, fulcrum of everything like that, that rests there. So the district magistrate is very much responsible of, dealing with all the different guidelines that come to them, and then, using them and putting them into place, given the local conditions. I mean, they are the best judge to understand what's going on and what is the exact scenario in their district. And then they utilize all those guidelines. For example, really, now there are three kind of zones that have been divided: the red zone, the orange zone, and the green zone, right? So the district magistrate knows which is the hotspot area, which is the containment zone, which is the buffer zone, and how many days which case has not come, and all those things. And then bringing this, like the rural development department, the urban development department, the labor department, and all the other departments are basically supporting the district magistrate. And it's not that we are working like in silos or something like that. Everything converges to that point. So they organize, they coordinate, the district magistrate coordinates, and they all come together. And for example, in Agra, if district magistrate wanted to use a smart city infrastructure for surveillance, they have done that. So in that way, I see that it's not something that can happen in silos and everybody's doing their own jobs. No, they all converge to some area and they all work together, and that's how it should be, because that's how we are going to get the desired results.
You mentioned about the new normal. How, what do you see the new normal in 2 3 months in terms of our behavior, our travel, our restaurants, hotels, uh, all the like general life, going to school, everything. So how do you
Yes.
change?
I mean, honestly, I do feel a lot of change already in the behavior, in the mindset of the people. I mean, in general, I mean, it has been going on for ages about hand washing and, you know, the right way of washing and other stuff. But the kind of awareness this coronavirus pandemic has brought to the people, even at, you know, down to the level of the rural areas, I would say. I mean, I have so many people that, you know, we can talk to them over phone and they are living in the rural areas. Everybody is aware right now. And I think definitely this will help us in the future in a way that it'll, because just by merely doing the right way of hand washing, if people are adopting that good healthy hygienic behavior, we will be definitely reducing our disease burden, you know, of other diseases which are because of this contamination and all. So this is a one positive side of what I see, that, you know, people are so much aware. Another positive thing that I right now see in the behavior change is, for example, in my own offices and all government offices, I mean, we have become now technology wise, and you know, there was, it was always like a paper thing, and now there's like more kind of e-offices, and everybody has adopted the use of technology, doing video conferences, working through homes, and it's a big cultural change, I must say. And I really appreciate you know, how mm, humans are so adaptive to their needs. I mean, we know how to survive in any given you know, scenario. So although this is such a hard time of our life, but at the same time, people are making the most of it, utilizing this time, learning the technology, and, you know, I think this is really a big cultural change that I see right now in not just the government but in general in public. Um, we have been talking about Swachh Bharat for so many years, but, you know, the kind of cleanliness that, you know, that now we see that people are so much aware. They are segregating their waste, and they are putting them in the different bags, and it's really appreciable. And I must give the credit to the general public, to the people who are in the front line, the safai karamcharis. I mean, I talk to them, I talk to the people in the field, and I know that how much concerned they are. And it has really brought the human interface back into the systems, you know. That's how I see it coming back together, that people are feeling connected. I mean, they are passionately working. It is not because it is their duty that they have been told that they have to provide food to the poor or something like that. I really feel it, that it is coming out of their own, you know, human instinct, that I need to help my co-brothers and sisters, and, you know, help them in the times of need. So that's something good. That's a positive change I see.
Are you saying that this is Swachhata Abhiyan 2.0, which is happening right now? Taking,
Yeah, I mean, you can say it is 2.0, but I mean, this has always been the need of the hour. And uh, health is not something, you know, there are so many determinants of health. And of course, water and sanitation is a very integral part of it. And definitely, as one of the question, I can see somebody has asked that focus of urban local bodies seem to have changed in the current pandemic. Do you feel healthcare should be an integral part of urban planning from now onwards? I mean, definitely, urban planning needs to be emphasized in the current scenario. Our needs have changed. Our you know, the environment has changed. The technology is there, and then healthcare and urban planning really goes hand in hand. I mean, if you have planned well, if you have put the things clean, water, sanitation, everything is available, good hygienic behaviors are there, definitely health will be better. So, and we are also working on the reorganization of the urban development, the structural reorganization, and a few things like urban planning and the governance. I mean, these are the areas where we are now emphasizing more that should be brought into the system in the public sector, that we really need to focus on that, and we are working on it. So thank you for the question as well.
You raised this, you mentioned about working from home. So, very important question that in the private sector, working from home has been heard of. But what are the challenges of like working from home in the government system? Each e-governance systems are the e-governance systems ready to deal with this situation and actually provide the government employees a work from home opportunity?
Yes, we have put into place the social distancing norms as advised by the ministry, and also it is very much required. I mean, distance is the best defense. That's the slogan we are using right now. So we in my office particularly, I have divided the people into like 33% of them. I call only. I mean, if it is really needed, and that too also like keeping the social distance and all the cleanliness and other things in place, and wearing, telling them everybody to wear mask. We have also got the this scanners, the fever that you can scan with the this infrared. And then I mean, it's most of our work is now going on with these kind of video meetings, video conferences. And since we kind of lot of work we have been doing with the private sector, for example, whether it is property taxation management system, or whether it is human resource information system, or anything. I mean, we are utilizing this time right now to work with the private sector, and they can join us from anywhere through the video calls. And we are utilizing this time to put our systems, to be in place, so that once this whole thing is settled, we are able to deliver in a much efficient way. So we are working on that at this time, and definitely I would say that my own office would be e-office in like maybe in next 15 to 20 days. Yeah.
Fantastic, great. So let's look at some of the questions which are here. I think you have answered some of it anyway, but there might be something which is.
Yeah, I've answered two of them, and I can go one by one. There are open 6 questions. So one is just greetings, and I would say greetings to you, Mr. Bayana. Thank you for being there. Next is from Mr. Harshal Desai, who says no department can afford to work in silos. How ULBs are coordinating with other departments. As I already said, that the district administrator is the converging point, and everybody is in their support, whether it is urban development or the other departments. So the district management is being held, is being carried forward by the district magistrate, and they decide. They have been given this free hand that they can decide like what is the best for their district. Given, I mean, staying within the guidelines and the protocols which are issued by the ministry at all times. And as I given the example of Agra, they have utilized the smart city infrastructure for managing surveillance and other crowd control and other stuff. Priya Yadav has asked about the behavioral change that we expect among the people. Definitely, I've already answered. There is. I mean, I see that and call it as a new normal for us. People have become tech savvy. They are now much more clean, like utilizing hand washing, more cleanliness, more awareness about the Swachh Bharat and other stuff. I think there's a big behavioral change coming our way. Focus of urban local bodies by Mr. Gautam to have changed. I already answered this question. Mr. Lakshman says that physical distancing is equally important to social distancing. What policy changes are required to address these issues, taking into consideration population and socioeconomic status? I think that's a very valid question right now, and it is really a big challenge for the government. And as you have been seeing news across the country, whether it is Delhi or Maharashtra or anywhere, it's really hard to make that kind of tough calls between when it comes to your employment and your food survival, those things, and also saving them from the disease. So it's a very delicate, I would say, balance that needs to be maintained, because on one side this lockdown has been helpful for us, as we all know, in containing and making the spread of this disease has been slowing down. But at the same time, it has taken a big impact on our economy. And people are like a lot of people, I can say that they are having an issue. Even the government is having a lot of revenue loss right now, right? So that is something that's a very, very delicate balance. And I think if the people understand that why we are doing this and what is the benefit that we will get out of it, uh, definitely I think if they can maintain the physical distancing on their own, that will be really helpful. If we can we right now, as the government of India has allowed for ease of restrictions in some parts of the world, some parts of the country, I would say that physical distancing is something, if people can understand. For example, right now we are trying to open the construction areas where labor can be re-employed, and there are stuff that has to be maintained at these places. The work cannot just start like normal, like the previous normal. It has to be done in a new normal way right now. So this is something I would say it's a very, 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 very difficult, and it's hard, but we really have to do it, because otherwise it will be very difficult for us to keep going on like this. So yeah, I mean, policy changes, I see. If you ask about policy changes, there are certain things that the people are demanding right now. For example, they need clear SOPs or the guidelines on how to actually maintain the physical distance at the workplaces. They also want some kind of moratorium on their loans. They also want some kind of assurance that if some employee turns out to be positive, what will happen then. So there will be a lot of policy guidelines that are needed to restart the work. It's not easy. So we are working on these policy guidelines, that what should be given to these employers and to the employees, so that this thing can restart, we can restart the work, but at the same time people are safe, people are also maintaining the distance. That's a very good question. Thank you for that. Casey Mishra, as per your experience, what has been your biggest challenge? I would again say the biggest challenge is again this you know this distancing. I mean, to keep them under a lockdown, people has to be maintained. You have to provide the food, whether it is food or other ration stuff or other things. I mean, the challenge is to make keep the people like under social distancing and all those things into place. That is one of the challenges we are facing. uh, then Mr. Sunil Kapoor say, do you see people and administration learning from the pandemic in terms of maintaining distance, following cues rationally, keeping surrounds clean, and acknowledging the need of process-driven cleaning and hygiene methods to minimize the risk of spread of disease in future? A survey of this topic may be helpful if you agree. Yes, I think we I think I agree with this thing, and there is I mean, a survey can be done online maybe, or with the help of phone calls, and as much as people can be made aware. For example, we are also issuing an advisory to resident welfare associations. I mean, people has to be a part of this whole drive, and although the local bodies are doing their bit, but at the same time I believe that people have a very, very important role to play with us. And if they can also take up this role, and they also become responsible and supportive with the government, it's becomes really easy for us to deliver. How is the smart cities mission helping in managing COVID? I've already said that this smart city mission has been really helpful, and there's a lot that can be done under smart cities. Some people have started using telemedicine, some are doing integrated command control system, some people are working on providing GIS based mapping of the waste management, some people are also utilizing managing smart cities infrastructure for social distancing and crowd control. So there are so many things that we can do with the smart cities, and people are taking up initiatives under that mission. Mr. Adarsh Som says, do you think more investments must be made in technology domain, considering work from home, or it is mere a temporary thing and we'll see a slump? Well, I think we should do more investment. That's my personal opinion, because this is something which we have learned and realized that it's very, very helpful in scenarios like that. And as I said, we learn from whatever experience comes our way, and this experience of COVID pandemic has made us learn that investment done in technology really help, and it'll only make us better prepared for any future mishaps if any happen. And last is, I think there's no question. So yeah, So thank you all of you for your questions. I hope I could answer them and to the best of my abilities. And yes, anything
Yes,
else?
I think we are almost there. I was just asking about what do you see the exit strategy out of this?
Exit strategy, as I said, as one of the question was there, what are the policy decisions that need to be put into place? Because slowly we have to, restart the employment and putting people back into work. So that is something is the exit a way that I see. And for that, I feel technology, for example, could be really helpful. That if we can match the supply and the demand areas, we can maintain the social distance via technology, and we have to have the SOPs and the guidelines into place for the employers as well as the employees under this COVID scenario. That if what kind of things would happen, for example, somebody turns out to be positive in the area where people are working, so there has to be some assurances that employer wants and the employees also want. So giving evaluating both the sides, we really need to get some policies out where we can really facilitate this, putting people back into work in a safe environment, which is very, very important. I think that would be our exit strategy.
Right. And to end this, I will request you Kajal, to that Elets is taking this initiative in this lockdown situation to connect to various officials across the country and talk about how are they dealing with the situation. And you also have attended our conferences and also seen our magazines. Your suggestions on the work of Elets and how do we make better on it, improve it.
Regarding these conferences that you're
Yes,
holding
yes,
and
yes,
these webinars,
yes,
well,
yes.
I think you're doing a great job, and it helps us as administrators also, to like, for example, getting the ideas from the public. Sometimes, it although we do try, we have sort of platforms, but having these kind of interactions, having their questions, it forces us to think and to bring out the policies which are needed. So I think if you can do these kind of things a little more, where we as administrators can connect more to the public in a way, because it's very then helpful for us to understand and to be able to deliver to what their needs are. So I think this is one of I really appreciate your this time being taken out, and inviting me to be able to connect to these people who have asked me some questions. I really felt that this has been really helpful for me to to understand what public has been thinking and what do they need and what are their desires. So we should be catering our policies accordingly. So yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
And yeah, and I thank you, Dr. Kajal, and I thank all the audience for being here on this chat and also on the Facebook. And I will request each of you to please like and share this video so that more and more people across the nation and abroad also get aware about what are the efforts the government of Uttar Pradesh and especially the urban local bodies department is making to combat the COVID-19 situation. With this, I thank you all and namaskar to everyone. Namaskar, Dr. Kajal. Thank you.
Thank you and namaste. Stay safe. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.